Hi, beautiful souls. Avalon here, and happy full moon to you. I really wanted to do this broadcast outside today. However, the weather is incredibly unpredictable. 1 minute it is like torrential downpour, and the next minute it is like sunshine. Right now it's like sunshine. You wouldn't believe it though. It is like 38 degrees Celsius outside, which is effing hot, and the humidity is literally at 98%. So there's no way I'm going outside. This also throws a spanner in the works for, hey Jess, how you going? Jessie's in California. Jessie's a friend of mine from here in Australia, and she's in California at the moment, and she is loving it. And if you haven't already, follow Cave Mama Bear on IG, because she posts some hella good stuff regarding Norse paganism and runic systems, and she's constantly prancing through the wildwoods there, being ultra creative as fuck. So get on top of that because she's brilliant. Hi Amethyst, hi Mistress, hi Solaria. So yes, spanner in the works because I have a coven gathering here at my place today, and I had planned this big thing for outside, but because the weather is so full on, and I have a very large, you can almost see it, that's my back door there, but there's an awning. There's a very large awning that comes out there. It's really quite big, and when it rains, there is still no dry place. The wind blows, the thunder goes, the lightning crashes, and just everything gets wet. So, I'm not going to bother setting up out there. I'm going to set up inside, but it did throw a bit of a spanner in the works, and it's hot, like hot. Anyways, hi Felicia, hi Lennon. I'm from California. There you go, Amethyst. Jess is from California. Jess, there you go. Amethyst is from California. That's what I meant, guys. Anyways, let's get into it because I don't have all that much time, because I do need to prep for coven gathering, and I'm making a roast. We're having a very big ritual tonight, and I'm having a roast, and, stuff is going on. So I did something today. I edged my very first deck. So I actually took my Tower of the Hidden Realm, and I edged it with multiple things, and I learnt very quickly what not to do. The reason why I chose this deck is because it is a mass-produced deck. It's a Llewellyn deck. I knew if I stuffed it up, it would break my heart, but I could also get another one. But I'm not inclined to get another one, even though things didn't go exactly the way that I wanted it to. I still loved it, and I've used Tombow marker, a lavender Tombow. Like, the light's not very good, but it's reflective. I used Tombow markers and 2 different types of Daniel Smith watercolor, which presented a whole challenge for me. And yeah, there's some stuff that goes on here. There's some stuff. Watercolor went places that watercolor wasn't supposed to go, but you know what? I kind of love that about watercolor. Watercolor is rogue, and like, I fully dig it, and I've got to say that I don't regret it. I just know now what to do. Like, perhaps next time I'll get an effing vice grip and just like smash them together to the point where they are so like together that I can just hit it with a big brush and take some hella time out of it. The one thing I loved about watercolor though, as opposed to Tombow markers, is if you do get watercolor on your cards, you just grab a baby wipe or a wet cloth and just wipe it straight off. So think tips that I've just discovered from this morning. And so I used a lavender, like I said, a lavender Tombow. I used Shadow Violet, Daniel Smith Shadow Violet, and I used Duochrome Cactus, which is what's giving it that shimmer. It's shimmery as all hell. Like, look at these edges. It's just like shimmers. It's just shimmers. It's so nice. Hi, Jigsaw Jan. Hey, Missy Page. Asta, New York, USA, that's awesome. Anna, how you going? Alicia, hi, yay. So some beautiful people here. Now, I really wanted to get into talking a little bit about the full moon, talk a little bit about magic, talk a little bit about tarot spreads, and then do a reading, right? So I'm going to be as organized as I can be because it's a Virgo moon and I'm like organization, detail-oriented. I wasn't very detail-oriented with this, but I was creative as all hell with this, guys. Like, this is my first ever deck edging. I've never modified a deck in my life, and the fact that I woke up this morning and went, oh, okay, daily draw for my coven, organised my sacred space in my reading area. How's about I just grab the first deck that I see and edge it? And I thought this was a really great start because this one is borderless. So half the job is done there for me. Some people actually trim, then they edge. I'll get there. I'm going to get there. I'm going to get there with that. Right. So, hi, Shy Witch. Hello, Brandy. I'm so excited to be in a live video chat. Yay! And Jigsaw Jane caught one live, so I'm just really excited. I have a tendency to stream in the afternoons, in the middle of the day in the afternoons, because that is what's convenient for me as a mother. Children are asleep or at school, and I just have peace and quiet and peace of mind. And obviously streaming in the evenings can be a little bit more problematic because more people are online, the internet gets a bit slower, the lighting is a lot poorer. Not that I really care all that much, really. At the end of the day, it is what it is when it comes to broadcasting. Right, so I'm going to pull some cards for the full moon, and I'm also going to have a little talk about the full moon. And what I've noticed this full moon, and it was pointed out to me by my very detail-oriented Virgo friend Laura, who could not be on this live chat, she tells me, because she's busy doing her university work, and she's trying to get ahead so that when she comes to visit me this month on the 24th, then she can have that 2 weeks off without being all stressy. I accept that, Laura, but I still miss her because it is a Virgo moon. It would have been awesome to have her here. She's a Virgo, she's a witch, she's a tarot reader, Virgo moon, you know, this is really her playground, but she couldn't, and I respect that. And I miss her terribly. What have you got here? Trimming and edging is one of those steep learning curve things, rewarding, but yeah, it is, Solaria, it really is. Oh, I'm so sorry, Missy. 639 days. Wow. It's a long time. I cannot imagine what that must be like. My heart goes out to you. So I'm going to just ground in center. I always ask that you do the same. It's a weird thing that I do. For those who've had a tarot reading with me, you'll know that sometimes I lead people through a grounding and a centering. Now, why would I do that if I'm videoing a tarot reading and the individual is to see that tarot reading like 4 or 5 days after? Sometimes it takes me a long time to upload videos because I have a tendency to upload 5 or 6 readings at one time, and it can take me a really long time. And that is because I truly and genuinely believe that electronic media can capture and even channel through spiritual energy, the moment, the essence of the moment. And so when a person receives a video with their reading, then I want them to feel very grounded into that moment. And so I get them to ground and center. I feel that when you ground and center, whether it is to give a reading or to receive a reading, you are going to be more present either way. And that's a beautiful thing. So I've had coffee today, just one. I went out and had a coffee with my daughter. She had a baby chino, warm marshmallow, some breakfast, grabbed some of the food for tonight's coven gathering, and got to task when I got back. Dropped a prezi off to my neighbours who are just lovely. My neighbours are lovely, so I gave them a present. Gave them a nice big box of chocolates, and they were stoked. And then I came home, put my little one to sleep. And here we go. We've got 3 cards. Oh, okay. So we've got the Queen of Swords reversed. Okay. So the Queen of Swords reversed, which is very interesting for me because for the longest time, every time I drew the Queen of Swords, I would think of Laura, who is a Virgo. Now, with the Queen of Swords in its reverse position, the archetypal energy that you might find yourself connecting with is more akin to frustration, to that overthinking and over-organizing and, you know, stringently holding on to things so that you can be in control of absolutely every situation. This is not going to be to your better health, guys. So while the Virgo moon can come in and can make you focus on certain details, make you see mess that you might otherwise have not seen or remain unseen, make you want to organize things. And then by the time you get to that point where you okay, I've got this impulse to organize, and then you look around and all of a sudden everything just looks chaotic. Like, don't push yourself too hard, okay? Take things every step at a time, educate yourself on processes. And when I say this, specifically in task-oriented matters, it's what's the best way to do things. Now, I'm getting to you here with some really great advice from my sister. There is a right way to clean. There is a wrong way to clean. There is a right way to organize. There is a wrong way to organize. Now, the right and the wrong comes down to you and what works for you, right? So I actually have a little thing that my sister put me on where I subscribe to certain channels that assist me to organize, to clean, to tidy, to manage my home in a manner that suits me, my personality, my time frames, my schedules and things of that nature. But I educate myself on organizing, I educate myself on cleaning, I educate myself on order, particularly in the home front. And so with the with the Queen of Swords reversed, you might find yourself, connecting with some frustration that doesn't necessarily seem to lead anywhere. It just broils. It's a broiling type of frustration. And so I ask that you take a deep breath in this particular scenario and reach outside of yourself for proper education. One of the things that I love about the Queen of Swords is that she can sometimes manifest, the archetype, not she, but the archetype can sometimes manifest as a teacher, a guide, someone who has an answer for you, an educated answer, someone who is astute, someone who has thought it out for you, and you can then absorb that wisdom from that source. Now, there will be times where you will be that source, where you will just wake up with an epiphany. It's like the moon hits you and you're like, I'm having an epiphany about this. And you sort it out for yourself because you've stepped solidly into that archetype. For others, it's about seeking outside of themselves. So depending on where you're sitting within the context of that card, do what feels right for you in that moment. But, don't let it broil. Then we have the Knight of Swords. So the Knight of Swords has a vigilant aspect to it. And this enforces the fact that you might be over-analytical at this process, during this moment in time. And being over-analytical never did anyone any harm. But if you're over-analytical and you're a wee bit judgmental, or if you're over-analytical and the reverse Queen of Swords can hint to that little bit of judgment, whether it be internal or external, the Knight of Swords, his archetype wants to persevere, wants to move. There's movement there, obviously, because all knights contain a bit of movement. And within that movement, it's edging towards the desire to fix, or to get an up close and personal look at whatever it is that's capturing the attention at that moment. So we're looking at detail oriented stuff. We know that Virgo is great for communication, ruled by Mercury, things of that nature. And most Virgos that I know, and I'm taking this from just personal relationships that I know, have this tendency to be on point with everything. Wordy as fuck, really articulate, very organized, can look at a situation like it were a puzzle, and their brain just magically puts everything into place. And if you want efficiency, then go and see a Virgo for that. If you want hard and fast your decision-making processes, you go and see a Virgo for that. A Virgo will put everything in order for you, and they won't feel emotional as they're doing so, because the idea here is to enhance productivity, to stimulate the moment, to take the betterment out of the situation so that everything is enhanced for your own personal experience, and to do so in such a fashion that might appear cold-hearted, but is not. It's just ultra-functional. And so there's a coldness there to the steely side of the Knight of Swords. So I'm just wiping some watercolor off it. So things to keep in mind. So wherever your attention lies at this moment in time, drink it in. Be mindful in that moment. Drink it all in. Allow yourself to sit and marinate on it. Is it something that's going to help you throughout the remainder of this lunar cycle? Is this an opportunity for you to really capture a view of something in a far more realistic fashion? Now, some people say that the Knight of Swords likes to take in the scenery, for instance, from a height, from a distance. This is much more Waite-Smith terminology or ideology or philosophy. But there is nothing that says that the movement that is oftentimes captured with the Knight can't urge you to come in. So if you find yourself sitting back and taking things in, that's perfectly fine, because that's the wave that you're riding. But if you find that you are more in that movement phase, then you're going to want to come in, and you might find that depending on where you are in that archetypal energy, that one or the other happens, or both. So seize the moment and go with the flow. And then we have the Knight of Pentacles. So we have two knights. So there's a lot of movement, there's a lot of productivity, there's thinking and there's doing. So there's as above, so below. A bit magician energy, but not quite, you know what I mean? But with the thoughtful aspect of the Knight of Swords and the practical and grounded aspect of the Knight of Pentacles, you know that whatever it is that you're manifesting in your mind, whatever it is that you're collecting, you're envisioning, you're establishing, you're what is the word? What's the word that I'm looking for? Conceptualizing, thank you. Conceptualizing, that will eventually come down to a grounded phase and will begin being built. So whatever you put in your mind, whatever focus you have for this full moon, particularly in journeys and meditations and things of that nature, you're going to find that if you really, really get clear on what that is, devoid of judgment and frustration, then grounding that is going to be so much more effective. Now, because we are working with the Knight of Pentacles, we know that whatever it is that you're working on will have a sense of longevity. Earth is patient. It's gnarled with secrets of patient knowing, right? And to quote Wendy Rule in her meditation of the 5 elements, and so you know that there's going to be an element of patience there, and there's also going to be an element of practicality to sort of counterbalance all of that Aries. So sometimes we can live too much in our mind, and so when people say, okay, be mindful, well, yeah, but sometimes all you have is the world that is in your head. Sometimes you need to just take a breath, exercise your limbs, go for a walk, ground, eat some root vegetables, have some meat or some kind of vegetable protein if you are a vegan or a vegetarian, and really engage with the physicality of the world and be able to actively take what is in your head and put it down and anchor it into the world of resources, into the physical world, into the world where things are meant to manifest, right? So put your mental skills to good use, and then really work with connecting with the Knight of Pentacles. And so lots of movement in that regard. So there is action to this lunar cycle, which I quite like. So there we have it. That's a reading. It's a 3-card reading. It's all spilled out. I didn't read any of the things. Haters in my job. What have we got? Trimmed, edged, and we're back to deck for a friend today. Oh, that's so cool. What else? What else? What else? That's beautiful. So I will be happy to pull some cards for people in just a moment. But first of all, I wanted to talk a little bit about tarot spreads. Now, many people know that I am a free-form reader, and I learnt to be a free-form reader through the use of tarot spreads. So while at this moment in time, I'm very the types of spreads I use are few and far between. Like, I mean, I'll pull a 3-card or a 4-card spread, no worries, or a 1-card. I'm not really big on 1-card draws. For me, a quick tarot reading is a 3-card. It's a 3-card affair. So I like to party with the cards. But I have created 2 tarot spreads specifically for this moon cycle. So whether or not you're into Magick or you want to connect deeper with the Virgo moon, then I have created a full moon Magick spread and a full moon in Virgo spread. I've put them on my Instagram and my Avalon's Apothecary or my Avalon Cameron Facebook page. So feel free to check out my IG, which is linked in the description bar below. I very, very rarely have the desire to create spreads. This is like the blue moon of events. For me to have created 2 is just like unheard of. The last time I created a spread was last year because I had to for the Tarot Readers Academy. for the Ritual Tarot course that I did. But I'm not really that person. I'd like to do more of it because I do get people ask me for spreads, and I actually do enjoy, creating spreads. I find spreads are the best way to shape yourself as a free-form reader. I find the majority of people who utilize spreads for a prolonged period of time start to feel like they can go without, all of a sudden. They just know how the cards move and work and interact with each other, and then they step away from that construct. And that's a beautiful transition, and that's something that I did myself. It was an evolution of my own. So I'm going to try to do more spreads, and the spreads that I've done are both 6-card spreads, and I've done this specifically because I'm a witch. Today is Friday, the day of Aphrodite. You will see these spreads. They're very pink, they're very whimsical, they're very feminine. Aphrodite. 6 cards, and 6 is a number that resonates with the Greek goddess Aphrodite. It's a very Aphrodite affair for me. So 2 tarot spreads are available, and just check them out, use them, and if you do use them, by all means, tag me in your card readings. I've been loving seeing people use this spread, going, wow, this reading. And I'm like, hell yeah, because it's so interesting to see that spread being put to work, using different cards, using, different constructs. And I've been seeing the cards that have been popping up for people, and they've been really, really intense. And I've loved that, so hella good. For a class, guess I'll watch back later. Oh, Jamie, oh no. Look at it. I'm in a Facebook group called Tarot and Scissors. That's all about modifying. That's awesome. I can't. Hey, Random, how you going? Everyone, Random Witch is here with us today, the beautiful Random Witch. Remember to be awake. Keep in mind. Oh, beautiful. Actually wanted to know some new spreads. So just do 1-card spreads. Wow, Aphrodite. Yes, Aphrodite. Now, I wanted to talk a little bit about something that I've noticed, and something that my beautiful soul sister, Alora, pointed out to me. Now, she's a Virgo, so of course she's going to point this out to me. This is part of that organized, detail-oriented, aspect of her. She's very academic, very mindful, right? Now, I also have a caught with chat. Do you do readings to help people find their matron deity? Yes, I do. I do Marley Keys. There's a strong energy in my life right now. I don't know who they are. Yes, I do. I do spirit work, actually. It's less of a reading and it's more spirit work. So I do spirit work and I do tarot readings through my Etsy store, and I'm selling my deck through my Etsy store at the moment. I'm branching out, folks, apparently. Somebody told me the other day not to sell myself short, right? That apparently I have more skills that I could be, sharing with the world, right? When people say this to me, I get a little bit shy and I go, stop it, you're being silly. And I don't think about it again. I just dismiss it. Well, that dismissal thing was also pointed out to me. So literally in 1 week, I have had close to 20 people tell me, why aren't you doing more? Why aren't you creating more? Why aren't you? And the fact of the matter is, it's helped me open up my eyes about my own potential and how to see my potential, right? Apparently I devalue myself. Who knew? I didn't know this. Apparently I've got mad skills, and I don't share my mad skills. Like, who knew, So people have been telling me this. And all of a sudden a light bulb went on, and I'm like, oh, okay, well, that's actually really nice. And that's something that I didn't know and I didn't realize. And, and it really started with the Tarot Summer School course that I did for Bethany's Tarot Readers Academy. I didn't realize that my course that I did was the second most popular course that year. I think it was second to Benabel Wen, right? And I had no idea. And then when she approached me to say, people loved your course so much, they've been raving about your course, I've been hearing all this stuff about your course, I'd like to put it on Legacy so that it's permanently available on the Tarot Readers Academy. I was like, it took me by surprise. I was genuinely surprised. I was like, oh, fuck, I'm so flattered. I'm like, yeah, go for it. I created it for her. It may as well stay there, you know what I mean? But I had no idea. And so it started with that, and it's created this domino effect of people approaching me with this, it's one after the other, and it's a strain of synchronicity. did a favorites video. My water bottle made it into my favorites video. So some beautiful, beautiful stuff going on. Okay, so right, that aside, just my little divulging, and I'm shadow working at the moment, and so all this stuff is coming up. All this stuff for me to look at is coming up. I was talking to Karis. Some of you might know who Karis Melina Brown is. Karis is a good buddy of mine. We often have these voice talks over Facebook and little chats and things like that. And we were talking about like the recognition of things and how it's coming up. Karis is a Taurus as well, so yeah, it was an interesting thing. So all this stuff has been coming up for me at the moment, and I'm very open to receiving, and my whole attitude and energy field has changed as a result of that, and I'm feeling really good. And so, and I'm starting to work a little bit with Aphrodite, even though Aphrodite is quite outside of my goddess wheel. I don't restrict myself. I don't restrict my practice. My coven doesn't require me to restrict my practice in any way. So, I go with what feels right. I go with what calls me. I received a Lady of Light subscription box, and I did the unboxing. It's up on my YouTube channel. I had no idea what it was all about. I just knew that it was a subscription box, and it was an Aphrodite themed subscription box. I'm like, oh my God. When a deity really wants to get your attention, they will get your attention. And it's not something small that happens. It's generally like somebody sends you a subscription box that is entirely themed to Aphrodite. And yeah, anyway. So I will do three readings. So if there's anyone out there that wants a reading, I'll happily do 3. And if you would like to put down, you know what? No, fuck it. I'll do 6. I will do 6. It's Friday. We've just gone over this. I'll do 6 readings. But I don't have time to sit here and just card sling. And if you put your question in capitals, I will see it, I will not miss it, and I can do that. Do I need to take a solo journey? Just my cards. just my cards. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and say yes, but when you commit to this, it's not going to be easy. So if you choose to, Mistress Panther Knight, if you choose to take a solo journey, you are knowingly stepping into a scenario of willing sacrifice. So we have strength, we have the 5 of Pentacles, we have the 9 of Cups. Emotionally nourishing, yes. Physically, resourcefully draining, yes. Will you need strength, clarity, will, and desire to strive and achieve? Yes. So your trump card is strength, telling me that you have the integrity of mind, body, spirit to do this. The resource sector of this situation is depleted, so you may want to make sure that you have plenty of resources as you embark on this. So focus on your resources, your utilities, the practical side of things, money, accommodations, whatever it is that you need for that particular situation. And then the 9 of Cups is coming through with a beautiful cleansing and a combination of emotional energy that will bring everything together and make it feel quite fulfilling. So there you have it. Where are we? Here we go. Lori. Laurie, how will my relationship weather over the next few months? So we will have a little look. Oh, hang on, wait. I just read from Mistress Panther going down. Which Missy, your son? Oh. Three of Cups, Eight of Wands, and the Eight of Cups. I think that your son is, wherever he is, he's the Three of Cups. Like, it's a beautiful card, and it's a card of togetherness, and it's a card of celebration, of intimate celebration, not the same type of celebration as, say, the Four of Wands would be. And so there's an intimacy to the moment. There is a joyful connection to the moment. The Eight of Wands is all about action. And, you know, there is an aspect of action that needs to be taken place. And the Eight of Cups is about leaving something behind for the purpose of a deep spiritual seeking. So being that you're in such a tender place, Missy, I'm not sure so much if this reading relates to you personally or to your son. And, you know, and it's a very delicate thing to read on. And I really wouldn't like to speculate and give you directions in such a manner that, you know, I believe it would be inappropriate for me to do that as a reader. But for you, I wouldn't look at this necessarily as a full reading, but as a means for you to shamanically connect with these cards for your own spiritual strength, for your gathering of spiritual strength, where action is called for, the right kind of, you know, fiery action is called for. You know, meditating on that moment for yourself and how that could manifest and how that could assist you in connecting you with your son may be a better way of grasping onto the Eight of Wands. The Three of Cups, the coming together, the celebration side of things, how can you meditate on that and infuse that into the situation? Because to me, from looking from the outside and considering the situation, it looks like an inappropriate card. You know what I mean? Looks like an inappropriate card. How do I say to a woman who has, you know, whose son's been missing for 600 plus days, oh yeah, have a three of Cups moment. So I think that there's something deeper here for you. I think that there's something about levity of spirit, about trying to connect with a levity of spirit, to try and lift some of the burden off your shoulders, which, you know, seems like potentially an impossible thing and an inappropriate thing to say to you. But at the same time, remembering to breathe, remembering to seek the joy in the moments for yourself before your soul actually dies through this experience. And then, you know, the Eight of Cups is, you know, is that odyssey, is taking that odyssey, whether your son has chosen to take an odyssey for himself, whether there is a new phase coming into play, like what can the Eight of Cups hold for you? Now, I've worked on the Eight of Cups on my own tarot deck, and the Eight of Cups was about Morgana Le Fay being taken from her family and placed into the Isle of Avalon for her priestess training. So it's an evolution, it's an odyssey. It's an odyssey, it's a spiritual odyssey. And I would really like to see how you could effectively connect with this concept of odyssey for yourself in keeping with this moment. And, you know, that is perhaps, that's the kindest thing that I could say to you right now. That wasn't easy, and I'm sure it's your day-to-day isn't easy, your situation isn't easy. Okay, Laurie, how will my relationship weather? Oh, I feel so emotional, Missy. I feel so emotional for you. I'm a mother of three, and It's a worst nightmare scenario, isn't it? How will my relationship weather over the next few months? Okay, this is for you, Laurie. I'm going to go ahead and say that it's going to weather well. Now, I'm saying this because you got the Two of Cups, which is soulful connection. You have shadow dance. And you have the Ace of Cups. So, you know, there is an element of bringing in a decadence to the relationship that I believe will end up being the glue to begin a beautiful new cycle. So you've got the Ace. We've got the Ace of Cups here. My cup runneth over. You've got soulful connection with the Two of Cups. And in the middle, you have the devilish energy, right? The shadow dance energy. And, you know, for me, you know, this type of energy can manifest, of the Trump can manifest itself in a very healthy and necessary way, like unbridled passion, euphoric release. What's the word that I'm looking for? Decadence. Almost a type of delicious obsession. And, you know, this is good, wedged in between the Two of Cups and the Ace of Cups. So, you know, rekindling that passion, rekindling that almost obsession, because you know what it's like when you get into a new relationship. You either obsessively check your phone, you obsessively think about the person, they obsessively come into your arena from time to time. And, you know, I think that if you can connect with some of that joy, some of that enthusiasm, you know, I'm going to go ahead and say this, knowing that it could shit stir. But you could look at this reading in one of two ways. Either your relationship does not fare well and you find someone totally new that you have an incredible connection with, or you experience a revival in your current relationship. So, things to think about. Just trying to keep up. What did I just do? Okay, I just did. I just did Laurie, so I'm going to do Mel. Will I get a job working at McDonald's? Will you? Will you? Okay, let's have a look. Did I just drop one? Just one. I don't think so, mate. You got the Three of Swords. It's not going to work out. Probably not going to work out. Don't put all your chickens in one basket, your eggs in one basket. That's the one. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. Look alternatively. Now, with this said, no, I'm going to stick to what I've said, because I like to weave optimism in, but then sometimes it's not necessary. You know, it does more bad than good. And that flew out of my deck and landed on my lap face up. That's a hella spirit message. Okay, Marley Keys. Could I please have a reading? What do I need to do to learn from the fiction book I'm writing? Bunny kisses. I don't need tarot to tell you that soul cards is going to be your soul deck. I feel like my face is getting chubbier. I might have to start a health journey, folks. It is the Virgo moon after all. I might have to really focus on my health soon. Okay. Okay. Marley, you got the World card, the Two of Swords, and the Lovers. Now, firstly, you have everything to learn from this experience. So it's a world of experience. It's a new world that you're creating, a new world that you're immersing yourself in. And so within that construct, there's this opportunity for tremendous expansion. Now, the Two of Swords can be that moment of decision-making, knowing what exact kinds of decisions that you need to make in order to construct a story that reads like a charm, you know, infusing that aspect of decision, the hard decision, which for me, like I'm a pretty big reader. I haven't been reading as much as I usually do because I've been too busy, but I've always loved it when there is an incredible decision, a difficult decision, choosing between two men, choosing between two paths, choosing between two adventures, choosing between two traditions. You know, I've always loved that because, you know, within that climactic moment, there is this potential for a story to go one way or another, and you know, knife's edge kind of business. So maybe weave a knife's edge into your story. Maybe connect with that idea a little bit and see where it takes you. Split the plot if you need to. You know, it's all about learning how to weave that excitement into your writing. And then you've got the Lovers card, which is about co-creation. Right, it's about co-creation. It's about passion. It's about, you know, agreement, and you need to be able to wholeheartedly, you know, feel as though you're connecting with your deck, and that with your book, and know that your book is an extension of you. So it's an outpouring of you. It's your desires. It's your passions. It's your perfect mate, essentially. So, you know, within that understanding, within that arrangement, it's acknowledging the necessity for the decision, for the climactic moment, making sure that your book and the story that your book contains is an extension of you and all of your passions and all of your whims and your wants and your you know, your quirks. It's a beautiful card as well. Like the Lovers card can sometimes be about, you know, that co-creative capacity. So it might be one of those things that you want to reach out to a publisher for. You know, you never know. They might help you bring your book to light. You might want to, you know, connect with another writer and they might give you a really great idea. So co-creating in that capacity as well. But the World card tells me that you have everything to learn, and that a whole new world, a whole new arena of life is opening up to you. How many have I read for now? Is that 3? Have I done 3? Yes, I think I've done 3. 3, I've got 3 more to do. Will the Bone Stone be your soul deck? I'll read on that. Would be fun if I could have read on that with the Bone Stone. Okay. At first, you're going to feel a little bit confused and disillusioned from an emotional capacity because it's like, oh, maybe it's not. Maybe I can't connect with it. The King of Pentacles is going to tell you that you need to bring a little bit more awareness in the physical of this deck, as in like really work with it physically by shuffling, by smudging, by, you know, sleeping with it next to you, like by doing the physical things. It's like a very wise thing to do, to physically connect with a deck. I find that people who struggle to connect with decks struggle to do so because they're thinking about it. It's all in the head, you know, it's all in the head or in the emotions. There's no physical. Sometimes when I'm struggling to connect with my tarot decks, I'm like, okay, I'm going to do a road trip and I'm going to take this deck and I'm going to put it in my bag. I'm going to put it in my whatever I've got in my car. I'm going to drive a long distance. I'm going to come out. I'm going to hold my deck. I'm going to sit it underneath a tree. I'm going to take in the landscape. I'm going to, work with it. I'm going to shuffle it. I don't necessarily have to do a reading, but I'm taking it with me, I'm making it a physical thing. And then you've got the Two of Pentacles, which is balancing. So it tells me that you might end up having, a balance, like an up and down relationship with this deck. It might not necessarily be the deck that you need necessarily, but it might be the deck that you reach for from time to time. You know what I mean? It might be the type of deck that you utilize for a particular occasion as opposed to an everyday event. And, and maybe you're going to have to balance your moods with it. Maybe it's going to help you balance your moods. Maybe it's going to be a deck that helps you to organize and adjust and balance your resources as well. Balancing your contracts and things of that nature. Interesting. How can we be open to messages from our guides during this full moon? That's a great one, Sophie. That's a really great one. Okay. Sophie Marie, how can I be more open? How can we? That was very nice. How can we be open to messages from our guides? I was really curved then. There's a glare. There's a glare because I forgot to close the window. But I actually need the light, otherwise it's ridiculous. Five of Pentacles, High Priestess, and Three of Swords. Okay, so with the Five of Pentacles, we're looking at resources, and we're looking at the depletion of resources. And so, my advice in this instance would be to not focus on that which you don't have. Don't look at what you don't have. Don't get into a comparative mindset about what such and such has and what you don't have, what that person might be into and doing and succeeding on, and you feel very disconnected and very behind, but yet you're striving in some way, and you feel like you're left out in the cold, And so the comparative mindset is something that is really important to rein in. And when you look at resources and you look at the depletion of resources, sometimes it's more in your mind than it actually is in the physical. And when it comes to resources, the human has such a basic need, and yet we, as a mass-consuming society, make people feel as though they need far more than what they need. They need more of it, they need it quicker, and they need it all the time. And so really get out of that comparative mindset, really focus on the resources that you have and working with the resources that you have, and understanding that, your needs are very basic from a human perspective. And then you can extend that out, like, what makes you you? Yes, you're a human. Then you might be a woman or a man, and then you might be a professional, you might be a creator, and then extend it out. But have a look at those resources and don't get stuck in a comparative mindset. The High Priestess is talking about utilizing your intuition a lot more and allowing yourself to feel the information that comes through, not necessarily to speak it, but to feel it. One of the important messages for the High Priestess is that when she appears, generally you know that there's some form of intuitive something going on, right? And then for the enthusiastic individual, that might mean, okay, I'm going to get an intuitive hit, and then I'm going to have to, work on this intuitive hit, and then you might feel compelled to share this with people. You might feel compelled to, to do the thing, to be in a helping capacity, I should say, to extend that gift, to reach out and to help somebody else. Understand, though, that one of the magical elements of the High Priestess is that she knows something so deeply and has no necessity to voice it. The fact that she knows is enough. And she's also a very strong reminder of the fact that just because you know, it doesn't mean that others need to know. And that there is a little thing called boundaries, and never to cross those boundaries, even if it's done with the best of intentions, because just as though just as you might see it, you might know it, you might understand it, you might be able to even predict the outcome of something. If you step out of that space of integrity and you force that information on another person who is not willing to receive it and who's not ready to receive it, then what you are going to be met with is something less than desirable. It's going to be resistance, it's going to be resentment, it's going to be an issue. So it's about the integrity of the intuitive hit and knowing what to do with it, feeling what the right thing to do is. And then the Three of Swords is talking about that aspect of shadow, that aspect of pain, that aspect of loss. Now, should this Virgo moon highlight a point of sorrow, whether in the now, in the recent past, or in the ancient past, then please feel as though you are allowed, you're completely capable of, in fact, you're destined to, if you want to put it that way, to work on that, as it appears, to work on it. Now, I would highly recommend you do this during the waning phase of this lunar cycle, as I find that dealing with sorrow and dismantling shadow and excavating in that kind of way is best done while the moon is waning, not while the moon is full. There is too much energy to a full moon. It's a very powerful time. And if you start messing around with your shadow during this time, then you might find that it's all a bit too much, that you can't really focus, as you need to. You can't embrace the stillness that's necessary to really move through that sorrow and dismantle it quietly so that it no longer affects your next cycle. Now, doing this is easier said than done, of course. So they're my tips. And then my last one, work. What are my next steps? Margot, work. What are your next steps? Let's have a look. Knight of Cups, emotional. So emotionally fulfilling, there's movement there. And Five of Cups, disillusion. So your next step with your, with your work, what are your next steps? Perhaps focus on what's fulfilling from an emotional perspective. I'll give you a little story. My husband has been in his field. He's an environmental scientist and he works for resources, right? He works for the Department of Natural Resources and Cultural Heritage. I've said this before. And he's had many incarnations in his work and he's absolutely loved them, right? Wherever he was, he's loved his job for different reasons. Right now, he's been still in one office, or two offices, you could say, because he did an intra-office transfer. But he's been there for 5 years, and it's seriously this job that he once absolutely loved. Like when we moved down here to Cairns, it was an absolute blessing. But as with all things, the shine can wear off and things can tire. And he's now in this position where it's like his soul's being sucked out of him, right? And so there's always that opportunity for a good job to turn to, something that is tired and no longer emotionally fulfilling. So, it becomes then so important to make sure that whatever it is that you're doing for work in one way or another is emotionally fulfilling. And that is easier said than done. It's not like we can all work our dream job. Well, at least many of us think that we can't. I actually genuinely believe that if you put your mind to it and, and your intentions and you work in that direction, that you can work amazing jobs. I am proof of that. I have a wonderful job. I work from home. I'm a professional tarot reader. I'm a creator of the tarot deck. You know, I do things. You know, I manifested this for myself. When everybody told me that I couldn't, I manifested this for myself. So you might find yourself in the position where you need to emotionally check yourself as far as your career goes and figure out exactly what it is that it is giving you from an emotional perspective, not just from a resource perspective, although that is incredibly important as well. And understand that, you know, sometimes we experience these, you know, emotional upheavals, whether or not they stay that way, whether or not you continue to feel that way is neither here nor there, but just brace yourself for that moment and make sure that you have great coping mechanisms for when that does pop up for you. And, you know, and it could just be a phase, you know, a month phase, you know, a few months of it. I like to look at cups in the time frame of months, just so you know. Not that I'm predictive. I'm not a predictive reader. That's 6, isn't it? That is 6. Right. So that was 6. I've done a couple of readings. I've done a full, you know, an opening reading, and I've talked a little bit about my spreads. Once again, check out my spreads. Let me know how you go. You know, if you like my spreads, I might create some more. Who knows? Now, one other thing that I wanted to say is the moon. Right, I've been looking at a lot of things regarding this moon in association with this current full moon, and a lot of it says release and let go and what do I need to release, and there's a lot of release talk. Have you noticed that there's a lot of release talk? Anyways, whether you noticed or not, I've noticed it, and Alora actually pointed it out to me, but I noticed it yesterday. And what I wanted to say is that I don't know how this thing with the full moon coming up became about release when the full moon is such an amplifying time. So for me, if you're ever having trouble associating or looking at the magic and how to utilize the magic of the full moon, then I'm going to share with you how I see it, and then you can share with me how you see it. Now, for me, the dark moon and the new moon are two different things. When there is no moon in the sky, when there is no illumination, that to me is the dark moon. That is a time of introspection. That is a time of divination. That is a time of planning. That is a time of inner journeys and stillness. When the moon is new, this is the new sliver, the first sliver of moon in the sky. This is about that new beginning. It is about the intention setting, whether or not you're setting intentions for something that is new, a new manifestation, a new goal, a new direction, or you are enforcing that intention, that new, fresh intention into an already existing manifestation, for instance, is neither here nor there. But it's a time of clarity, it's a time of levity, it's a time of lightness, and it's a time of pushing forth with growth in a very gentle but very clear way. So setting bold intentions at the new moon and then consistently pushing them up towards the full is one of those beautiful functions of the new moon. And so, bringing things into perspective is another great one. Then you have the first quarter, or the waxing phase of the moon. This is about bringing things into being. It's about the creation and growth of things, of certain situations, whether or not be ideals, projects, magic, etc. So building creation. Want your hair to grow, cut it during the waxing phase of the moon. It should grow quicker. It's an old wives' tale. It's something that I grew up with. If I wanted my hair to grow, I had to trim it, on the crescent moon. Crescent to mean growth, right? Now, when that waxing moon reaches its full, the full is the great all-rounder. Any type of magical working can be done on the full moon, and it amplifies everything 10,000-fold. The energy that a full moon releases is the most powerful type of energy, and so it can be used for charging, it can be used for energy raising, it can be used for any kind of magic whatsoever, as long as you are incredibly clear on what it is that you want. To channel the energy of the full moon into a manifestation is one of the most powerful acts. To draw down the energy of the moon, as you would in, say, the Wiccan ritual of drawing down the moon, is incredibly powerful, and it can assist you to connect deeper with the goddess as well. right? So there is a spiritual aspect to that. Then the moon begins to wane, and when it begins to wane, we know that things are lessening. So this is a time of releasing, of beginning to let things go. Whatever didn't come to pass during the growth phase and full phase of the moon, and then becomes something that you need to begin to release. If it hasn't happened for you then this is an opportunity to release what is no longer working, to work on release work in any way that you can. And if you want your hair to slow down its growth, cut it during the waning phase of the moon. If you want it to thin, cut it during the waning phase of the moon. And so work with that waning energy in that way. The last quarter phase is a time of serious release. It's a time of letting things go. So you gently work up to it, and then you get to that point where it's the last quarter, and that cutting cords at that time, cleansing your house at that time. The closer you can to the new moon to cleanse that house, the better it is, because you're in that that deep waning phase, and then the new comes through, and then you can bless your house, and it can happen within a couple of days. You know what I mean? And so working with the moon energy, like draining out and then going in. So I don't understand why everyone's talking about this. What do you need to release with this full moon? Because the full moon has never in my eyes personally, and this does not need to be the case for you, but never in my eyes personally been about release. I mean, it can be if you want it to be, but that's not what a full moon does. And I think these days there's so much more emphasis on the new moon. And when I was witching it in the 90s, the emphasis was on the full. Every time it was on the full moon rituals, full moon events, full moon gathering, full moon, full moon, full moon. And now it's all about the new moon, which is fine depending on where you go. But I happen to think that that's a little bit more new agey. The new moon is far lighter. Not everyone can handle the new moon is much lighter. That's what I said, right? Not everyone can handle the power of the full moon, depending on what sign that moon might be in as well. Like, I've had some instances where I've been very excited for the full moon, but then when the day of the full moon came, I'm zapped I'm zapped from energy. I've just got nothing. I've got nothing to give. And then there are times where the moon has come through and it's been in a really powerful sign, a sign that quite heavily populates my natal chart, for instance, and I'm like guns are blazing. Like, I cannot work any faster or do more in that time. So working with the moon in its full phase will tell you a little bit about yourself, will enable you to create from a powerful perspective. And then can give strength to that with a whole release and inactivity. Yes, that can happen. Full moon rituals, certainly positive change that you want to manifest. Yeah, that's it. So the full moon can be everything, but what I've seen is that it's for this full moon, everywhere I look, especially when it comes to tarot readings, what can I release? What can I release? What can I release? What should I release during this full moon? And I always think that, you can use the full moon for some release. I think it's healthy to do so. And in some cases, if we need to heal and we want to release disease from our body, for instance, if we are trying to lose weight, we want to release the fat from our body. We want to release the toxicity from our body, for instance. The full moon is just as good a time as any. So perhaps that's what they mean, because, Virgo is somewhat associated to health and well-being. So perhaps releasing is in context with that health journey. Who knows? I've just noticed that it was a lot about release rather than about, the powerful potential of the full moon as it stands as such a great all-rounder. So it's up to each individual practitioner to determine how it is that they would like to work with the full moon. And maybe I just went through a run of seeing people who were in the process of doing some release work or some healing work, and some weight loss work, for instance. And that's potentially what happens. But I just wanted to have that conversation in case anyone out there was like, I don't know. So that's my opinion. Great. We're checking out your spreads, like creating great energy. Yes. What is your info on Periscope, if I may ask? Could not find you under Avalon Cameron. I'm not sure. I'm not even on Periscope anymore, Brandy Boo Boo. I tried Periscope out and I got really, really excited for Periscope. But what I found is Periscope is unfiltered, and then you get the creepiest people saying, show us your tits or show me your vag, and like some like disgusting shit. And I title my videos as in card slinging or tarot reading or live oracle readings. And, you know, they still come in and it's ridiculous and it just marred the experience for me. So I'm just not on it anymore. And it's the blue moon focus that's showing on the first rather than the second moon. Yeah, there's something about that which I thought was really odd. What do you think, Cherie? My friend Cherie here, Lilith Starfires, in the blue moon is being associated to today's moon, but today's moon isn't technically the second moon of a lunar cycle. That would be the moon on the 31st. And so I'm a bit confused as to why the association has been placed for the blue moon to be today. That's something that I haven't looked into, but I did write it down, and I have the astrological calendar here in Australia. A company in New South Wales makes this beautiful, amazing astrological seasonal calendar. It's massive. And it's a wheel and it's a planting guide and it's an astrological guide and it's got every bit of information that you could possibly think of. And then it's even got time variance down the bottom. So here in Queensland, we don't observe daylight savings. And so our calendar just remains the same throughout the entire year, whereas in other parts of Australia that do observe daylight savings, they're out by a couple of hours. And, you know, and there's a time difference as well in different states as well to be considered. Release fed by the intense push of the full moon. Could be, it could be. I'm personally not going to advocate for release at my full moon gathering tonight. I'm thinking power up. I'm thinking definitely a power up. And because it's the Virgo moon, I'm also thinking that, you know, to power up the aspect of yourself, that your archetype of organizer and detail-oriented task manager, that's what I need in my life right now. I've got a lot of projects going at the one time. And so I need to be incredibly organized. Now, for those who didn't know, I have glandular fever. I had blood tests done because I was feeling really funky and I found myself, you know, grabbing onto coffee again. And I had detoxed from coffee some months ago. I think it was October last year. So I haven't had coffee for a really long time. And in the past probably 3 weeks, I've had quite a bit of coffee all of a sudden. And my husband has as well, but his is because he's utterly depressed at work. So we're looking to change that situation, by the way. I'm not just going to let him be depressed. I'm not the type of person to let someone suffer like that, you know. And I've said to him, if you're not happy with your job, then that's it. We'll sell everything, absolutely everything, clear out, move into a tiny home and live happily ever after. You know, I'm all about the let's address the situation. Let's fix it in any way that we can. So that could be an adventure, folks. That might actually yet happen. Mark my words. My life is dynamic. You might not see it all. It's fucking dynamic behind the scenes. And when I make a decision and I decide on something, I'm a Taurus, got a lot of Aries in my chart, it's going to happen. My husband, Scorpio, Aries in his chart, it's going to happen. You know what I mean? Seeing it as a large focus process of the month, not sure why. I felt the need to give more focus to release as well as abundance and get rid of the crap before reveling in the new power. This is a good thing. That's a good thing, yeah. So getting rid of that. I mean, like I said, it does work as release, but to pigeonhole it as a time of just release, like, no, you can absolutely, like I said, the full moon can be used for everything. But I think, you know, if you start to pigeonhole things, I'm sensitive about words, guys. I'm sensitive about words. And Cherie will know what I'm talking about here because, you know, in the Australian Witchcraft group that I created with Cherie, we just had this really, really beautiful, very respectful, very interesting, very intricate conversation about eclectic and eclecticism within paganism, within witchcraft specifically, because there are no just pagans in Australian witchcraft, it's specifically witchcraft. And what's been coming up has really boiled down to the word, the use of the word and how our language can morph from generation to generation. And so, yeah, I don't want the word release to be associated to be the only associated word to the full moon. So maybe I'm just a bit sensitive at the moment. So that's my shit rather than anybody else's. But it's a thing. Anyway, guys, so I've done a few. Oh, see, look, this is what I want to show you. See that black smudge? That's shadow violet. But because it's a watercolor, it wipes right off. So things to understand about edging. I'd still like to give this more of a crack, actually. I like the way that it turned out. It's very unique. Like this, the light is not just, it's just not doing this justice. I'm going to have to like photograph this somehow, figure out how to do that. What have we got here? Yes, Scorpio here. Venus is conjunct Chiron and Pisces right now, so it's stirring up old wounds. No, not possible to focus strictly on release. It's like putting hobbles on a stallion. Exactly. By the way, Cherie, can you just move down to Tassie with me? I need a friend down there, you know? I want to move to Tassie and I just need a friend. Jamie, I'm sorry I missed what you said, what you used to edge it. Yeah, I do a lot of edging of my cards, and I'd be happy to send some of my tips. Oh, thank you, Jamie. I feel like this is a rite of passage that I must face alone. Not something that I usually say for most things, but you know what? Maybe I'm being resistant. One of my card readings this morning said to educate myself on a subject matter, so maybe I'll say yes just because of that. I used Tombow. A Tombow marker, and then I used Daniel Smith watercolors. Yep. Daniel Smith watercolors. Cherie, you've just got to move. You've just got to get up and just move and say, you know, husband, meet me down there when you're ready. And that's the best way. May have to leave Bob behind. That's how much I want to move. I was just saying that. I'm just saying that, you know. So, folks, another thing that I wanted to say is you've heard my story about my husband, right? My husband's the sweetest person in the world. He's so loving. He's so caring. He's such a good dad. He really is. Like, he's the best dad in the world. And my sister is about to have her baby. She's due on the 9th of March. Her baby went from a 94 percentile down to a 62 percentile size. It's much more manageable and she's less fearful about it, but she does have quite a few complications. This is not affecting her mood in any way, mind you. She's in very good spirits. She's a strong-willed woman and she's ready for action, right? But I've said to my partner how much I would really like to be there for the birth of her baby, because she was there for the birth of my first child, my daughter Savannah. And it's important for me, particularly when, you know, most of our family lives in another country. Now, my dad is there with her at this moment in time. My dad's a sweetie. He's a bit hopeless, though, with home chores. You know, he really does need someone to look after him as far as home chores go. So she's very pregnant and she's still doing all of the cooking and all of the cleaning because, you know, to be fair, my dad's also 71 this year. So it's not like he's a spring chicken, but at the same time, he's really a bit hopeless in that way. And it's not, he doesn't do so intentionally because he's the most generous, giving type of person. But I feel like big sister has to go there and just help her out, you know, cook her some meals, store things in her freezer, do the right thing, clean her house, make her feel like everything is locked down so that she can relax and she can, you know, prepare emotionally. And so I've spoken to my husband about this and, you know, and he's like, well, I'll just speak to work and I'll see if I can take carer's leave so you can go. Like, he's a really, really sweet sort of person. But this carer's leave, if he can manage to secure it, and it sounds like he can, it means that he can have a bit of time off as well, which is going to be very, very good for him. And, you know, it's absolutely necessary. And, you know, I find that if he's not running to the best of his capacity, cheesecake lol. Yeah, if he's not running to the best of his capacity, that it affects me and I have to try and fix it, I'm little miss fix it. You know, I have to fix it. If someone's unhappy and if I love that someone, then I've got to fix it. Like, I've just got to fix it. Like, I'm a really happy person. I'm a very, very happy person. I'm a bit full on I recognize that about myself, but I can't stand it if someone that I love and adore is going through any kind of issue. I also understand that you can't force people out of that issue, bit of that high priestess medicine that we talked about. But, at the same time, it's my responsibility as the matriarch of this family to balance out the energy of this family, especially from the perspective of witchcraft. A witch is a weaver of energy, right? And so he comes home and he's bringing his shitty mood into my house. I'm like, no, buddy, we're going to do a little smudging. And he fucking hates it. Like, I'll be smudging him. I don't smudge him with smoke anymore because he doesn't like it, but I do get the spritz out. A big shout out to Elder Crow for his space clearing potion, which is an aromatherapy spritz. And so he's much more down with that. And we're just making arrangements. Like, I've said to him, like, I want to move. If you want to, I love Cairns. I love this area. I have a beautiful coven here. I've got a great circle of friends. I bang on about the beauty of this place, but right now it's so hot that I can't go outside and enjoy that beauty. So it's a bit, it's a bit of a double-edged sword, you know what I mean? And if he's not happy with his job and I work from home, then moving is perhaps the best option. The thing that keeps him sort of grounded here is the fact that he has a permanent job with the government. They're impossible to get, and once you're in, and that's it. You can stay there for the rest of your life. You have great benefits. Everything's sorted out for you. You get heaps of leave, and gosh, it's incredible there, right? So he's a bit reluctant to leave that security, but at the same time, if that security is sucking the life out of you, then don't you have a responsibility to yourself to just like disconnect and take that leap of faith and go, okay, this is not working for me. It's the right thing to do for me to disconnect from this and see what else the world has to offer me. It's a leap of faith. It's the fool's leap, and it's very scary. And I think a lot of that fear is what holds him back from making that decision. And I'm sure many people can really relate to that. He's the primary provider. He's a great job and good money. And my work, I don't even put that much. I want to say I don't put that much effort in, but I'm very limited to the effort that I can put in. I only have 2 days to create. Some of that is used to write. Some of that's used to do readings. I don't have time to create new things like this. I have small children at home in my care Monday, Tuesday, and Friday. She's asleep right now. And, so I'm limited. But if he were home, then I could pour a lot more energy into my creations. I could pour a lot more energy into my output. And who knows, maybe I could sort of take over that responsibility of providing for the family, which is, quite frankly, it's the most exciting thing that could possibly happen to me, because he doesn't like work and I fucking thrive. I'm Little Miss, I've got to work. I've got to work to feel meaningful. I'm a Taurus. I've got to work to feel meaningful, but I also refuse to work for somebody else. I never used to be that way, but now that I've tasted the freedom of working for myself, which was just a happy coincidence, by the way. I was a mum. I was bored at home. I've always worked. I've always worked. So I thought, well, I'll just try working a little bit through Etsy. I'll just try working a little bit through this way. And eventually, you've got me right here. My sisters and brothers similar to you. What? Cheesecake. Did that for my sister. She's my big sister, but still. Yeah. And my little sister did that for me, and she came to my aid, and it was lovely. Yeah, well, I'm best of care to you and your sister. Thank you. Are you and your sisters and brothers similar to you? Yes, they're all pretty much alike. We all have a similar attitude, all have a similar sense of humour, all have a similar outlook. Probably the one that I used to be most the same with, but now I'm very different to, would be my older sister, who has seemed to she's lost. She's at the moment, she's a bit lost, but not in a bad way. I'd like to know about my health. And can he be transferred? Oh, Sophie, not really. Like, he can and he can't at the same time. It really depends. I just don't think that he's at that point now where he wants to continue doing the work that he's been doing. I think that, you know, when he started out doing this job, he loved the outdoors aspect of it. He loved the traveling aspect. He liked the adventure component to it. But eventually, as you get older, they move you up the ranks, and it's nice to be moved up the ranks because usually that means more pay. And as we've had more children and we've bought a house and everything, he's just been moved up pay, right? And now he's in that position where he travels very little. He's hardly outside. He's in a building, and he wears, you know, formal attire. It's not really him. You know, he's at his heart, he's a green man. He's happiest when he's outside, you know, doing something in the garden or creating something or being hands-on. Not that he's ever done a trade. I wouldn't necessarily call him a skilled worker. He just does it because he really likes it. And, you know, and I think he just deserves a bit of a break. You know, it sucks when you don't like your job. It really, really sucks. And it can impact every aspect of your life. And he recently injured his back, just doing something very minor. He injured his back. He first injured his back lifting a mower into the back of the car. And then last Friday, he injured his back fueling that mower. And so he was like, he's been laid out. He actually had to have a day off work. This happened on the Friday. He came home. I called at home dialer doctor, and they said, I'll be there after 9. They got here at 1:30 in the morning, and I stayed awake while he slept because he was in pain. And I thought, well, the best thing that you can do is to sleep. And, you know, and he's been given medicine and he's been going. So, you know, it's a shitty time for him. I've got a sore back. I've got to go to this job that I don't like. My life sucks. You know what I mean? And when he comes home, he wears that. I'm laughing because I know what he's thinking and I know what he's feeling. And when he comes in the afternoon, I'm just like, fucking hell, like it's heavy energy. And I have to sort of like pull him out of it, like give him a good little shake and get him, you know, thinking about good things and, you know, give him happy thoughts and, you know, trying to be a good wife. He should do Eco Nature Tours in Tassie. Yeah, he should. He'd fucking love that, you know. He'd love that. Are we in Virgo? If so, how does this usually affect us? Well, Mistress Panther, you should try and do my full moon in Virgo spread. See how that works out for you. Check out my Instagram. I've got a full moon in Virgo spread. It's so lovely. By the way, folks, I'm incredibly impressed with my Aphrodite-inspired artwork, the way that I've assembled those posts. It's very different for me. If you were to look at it, to peek into my heart, you would find a little Aphrodite, and then you would find a little skull and crossbones. I'm sure we can all, you know, relate to that, the light and the dark, the struggle for light and dark inside. Here we go. Yes, it does. Yeah, it really does. Oh, ouchie. My partner was the same. He eventually took the leap and quit his perfect job. It came up much easier person to live with now. Yeah, that's where he's holding his stress. Yeah, that's exactly right. He's 10 of swords. He's 10 of, not swords, he's 10 of wands in it. So he's got the world on his shoulders, and he feels very responsible for the health and well-being of this family. And, you know, and I say to him, you know what, if I need to, I can ramp up my work, you know, I can ramp up what I do. I can offer more through my Etsy store. I can offer more, you know, in a different capacity. I could create another deck, you know, I could essentially, you know, fill the gap. If we had very little overheads, if we lived off-grid, had very little overheads, owned everything, and had very few utilities to take into consideration, then I could potentially be the provider for the house, which makes me feel incredibly excited. But, you know, and at the same time, you know, it's a wonderful opportunity for me to see what I've got, sort of like push myself out there and to like reach my potential, you know what I mean? The Virgo spread on your Facebook pages. Yes, I do, Mistress Panther Night. I have it on my Avalon camera and its Facebook page. It's there. I posted it last night. There's a full moon Magick one. There's a full moon in Virgo. Thank you, Shadow Sun. I don't have an Instagram. Oh, that's fine. I've put it in 2 places specifically for that reason. Most people that don't have one have the other. Otherwise, I'm thinking like I have final thing, and then I've got to go because I just noticed the time. I just cancelled my website, my plan for my website, because I'm not happy with it. So I'm considering moving my website. I've never been one to really endorse my website. Have you ever heard me say, go to my website? No, because my website sucks. My website actually sucks because I place no emphasis on the importance of a website. Apparently I'm a fool. According to everyone, I'm a fool. I refuse to believe that, but it just might be true. So I am going to sort of look at a different website setup. I'm not really fancy, and you know what I mean? It's a bit like that. But I am considering moving away from Etsy and moving onto my website, mostly because Etsy really does take quite a bit of money from me. Every time I list something, I've got to pay money. Every time I sell something, I've got to pay money. There's fees and charges with Etsy that, and I've had this conversation with Benabel Wen, and she's like, she only trades off her website and she only trades through PayPal because it's, the cost to her is actually minimal. And I'm like, well, I would like the cost for me to be minimal, especially when I'm paying. Like, there are some days, some months where through Etsy, my bill for Etsy could be $700. Like, all for just using a platform. Like, that's $700. That's $700 that I could be putting in my own pocket, that I could be using to feed my kids. That's a lot of money, So I'm not really super happy about that. I have looked at your spreads on Facebook. Thanks, Claire G. Let me know how you go. Because my son is turning 21 on March 8th. Blessings to your sister. Pisces babies. Yeah, Pisces babies indeed. I need to rebrand and redesign my website. Right, Soren? Right. It's such a pain in the ass. Yeah, that's too much. Yeah, it is. I mean, that's not every, that's in accordance with my sales. So the more I sell, the more, and so when I'm selling a lot of decks, for instance, when I launched my Bonestone and Earth Flesh Tarot deck, my bill for Etsy was in the thousands. So, and I have to include that cost in the price of my deck, otherwise I would go broke, right? And so I would like to be able to create things at a lower cost, because I know that, the place that I'm selling, my creations through aren't going to siphon essentially 5-6% out of that creation. So $700 wow, that's way too much. Yeah. It's full on. Yes, it's a lot of money. It is. It's a lot of money, but it's a safe platform, and they do all the work for you. They do the invoice. They do lots and lots of things. So when you do run it out of your own personal website, it does represent more work, but it's work that you can at least control, and it's work that you can do in the way that you like it. So, if you have a good website set up, then it can do the checkout for you. It can, it can schedule things for you. It can do essentially what Etsy does, but you have to be able to set it up to do that. And quite frankly, that is outside of my capacity to create, so I have to outsource for that, and I'm just not sure who I'd like to go through and what platform I'd like to use. So I have been on Facebook asking the questions, and trying to get sorted and trying to get organized, because I've got until March. I'd like to have this done by the middle of March, and and see how I go. I'm in a stage of my life right now where I'm creating a beautiful tarot deck that is just, people are raving about this tarot deck before it's even come out. I feel very blessed. I'm teaching at Tarot Summer School, so I've sort of entered into this phase of teacher inadvertently, just by invitation. And, with all of this sort of shadow work that I've been doing, and all this working and self-examination that I've been doing, and taking into consideration the feedback that I'm getting from other people, I have decided that once my channel on YouTube reaches 10,000 subscribers, that I'm going to put myself in the capacity of sharing more of my creations. And so I'm going to figure out the best way for me to do that. A few people have suggested Patreon, and I don't know if I want to go to Patreon yet. That seems like a whole other YouTube to look after, you know what I mean? Like YouTube, I've got YouTube, I know how it works. Then Patreon seems like another YouTube, and it's big, and it requires a lot of attention. And so I don't know exactly what I'm going to do. So I would like to get my website going. I would like to get some, some beautiful things up, and potentially start, reaching my potential in that regard. So that's just a little behind the scenes of my own. So there you have it, guys. Oh, horrible and insane. Good to know. We'll have my site up soon. Yep. Yeah, it can be full on, and if you're only trading a small amount through Etsy, then it's not that bad. Your bill might be like, $20, but it's still, you pay a certain amount of money to list your individual items, and then you have to pay to sell it. No doubt you have to pay some, you pay your bank fees. Everything's just fees. Like, you lose so much money in fees. And so I can understand why people do go to their websites and begin to trade from their websites, because they can really halve or quarter the amount of fees that they, that they're forced to pay, in order to be able to transact online. So they're things to think about. And surely there is a talented witch in Australia somewhere that could do you a website, potentially. We'll see how I go with that. It's never really been a focus of mine, but I'm told, like Anna, the artist, Anna, my friend Anna, beautiful artist from the Bone Stone, she tells me all the time that I have to have my website up and doing the things. And my best friend, Erin, she tells me the same thing, and she's hella into it as well. She's an artist though, so it helps these artists. See, Anna, Erin, both artists. They're like, oh yeah, just do it. And I'm like, I'm sorry, I don't got skills where it comes to graphics, okay? And both of them I know would do me graphics if I asked them to, if I paid them to, of course. And but I'm just like, I don't know what I want. I need someone to just come in and sit in my brain and sort it out for me. So that's exactly what's happening. Laura Rain is coming to sit in my brain from the 24th of this month. So she'll be here the 24th of this month. I'll be going to Brisbane through, potentially next week, which is just a surprise thing that happened from last night to tonight. I'm super happy about it. I've extended my wait times for my readings, particularly because my life is now so dynamic that I'm up and down and I have to do so many things. And I got sick and tired of placing my Etsy shop on holiday mode, because it just interrupted things, Hey, Chris, how you going? Chris Ashburn, everyone. Oh, Chris, Laura and I were talking about you regarding that person. You and me got to talk, mate. I've got stories. I've just got fucking stories, man. God help us. The duo, exactly. I taught myself a few years ago how to code websites, etc. My brain hurts thinking about it. Yeah, see, I actually did a little bit of a university degree where I had to do like computer coding, and no, it's just not my forte, guys. I'm okay with law, I'm good with science, shit at maths, which is probably why I'm shit at coding, because kind of got to be numbers oriented, I think, analytically minded for that kind of shit. Yes, I do. I've been thinking about you though, because Laura and I were just talking last night, Chris, and we were like, it was just a horrible potty mouth kind of conversation that was being thrown back and forwards, but it was legit. It was legit, and I noticed something, and so I went to a group of respected professionals in my field and just dropped it all out there, and they're like, "Oh, really?" And I'm like, "Do not endorse." Yeah, I'm atrocious at maths. Is tonight the full moon? Tonight is the full moon, and if I have hang on, I take it with me. It's just the laptop, right? This is the calendar. So, February, we're in Pisces now, and we have got, here we go, the full moon was at 11:50 a.m. So it was 11 degrees in Sagittarius. Is that what it is? I don't know. I started that kind of stuff. Yeah. So there you go. Today. I think at 11 o'clock I was having a nice baby chino with my daughter. We like to have lunch dates, or brunch dates at least. So there you go, guys. Yeah, it is. Hey. All right, guys. Well, I'm gonna. I can't do HTML or CSS with it. Cascading style sheets are not something that I'm hella into. To refresh my knowledge. Chris Ann. Pay someone to set up your website. Once it's done, you can get yourself off of Etsy. The money you won't have to give up anymore will be worth it. Hella yes. Thank you, Chris Ann. I just did my release ritual. That's beautiful. Yes, I have never thought or understood or even felt, for that matter, the full moon was a time for release. It's a thing. It's a thing. Right, guys, well, I've got to skedaddle. I've got to prep for ritual tonight. So I've got to start putting a roast on. I've got to start peeling some potatoes. I've got to start doing the thing. The sun is, of course, like outside. I'm going to wait for my minions to get home and to help me clean out the back area because they make such a mess. So today they're going to understand that before they get their afternoon Friday, because it's Friday, they get a treat on Friday. We do Fairy Friday at our house. So they get fairy bread in their lunchbox. And then we do a little fairy treat in the afternoon, a little picnicky kind of thing. Before they get to that picnic, they're cleaning up their shit outside. And that's how it's going to be. Right, guys, well, I'm going to skedaddle. Wishing you guys an absolutely beautiful full moon ritual, whatever it is that you're doing. If you're not doing a full blown out ritual, that's totally fine. Don't feel the pressure to do that. The full moon is for you to work with in any way that you feel is right for you. And just wishing you so much love and, check out those spreads because if you like them and I get good feedback on them, I'll make some more. I might make a whole book's worth. Who knows? Who fucking knows what I'm going to do? That's the joy of it. Nobody ever knows what I'm going to do, not even myself. So wishing you guys so much love, light, peace, and joy. Please take care of yourselves. Utilize this full moon and the time thereafter and the cycles of the moon as they roll in to create a beautiful, magical lifestyle for yourself. Remember, you are always in control of your situation. Even in those moments where you feel like things are out of control, find your center, ground in the center, understand that you have skills, you have knowledge, you have opportunity. It may be hidden behind or obscured by, situations, but it's there for you, and I want you to just reach your potential. I'm reaching my potential. Why shouldn't you reach your potential, right? And learning lots about myself at the moment. So all this shadow work is making me feel extremely grown up. Anyway, I'll talk to you guys later. Take care of yourself. And